Welcome back to Pastry Maestra. I'm Tereza and today I'm making strawberry tarts. Strawberry tart, or as the French call it, tarte aux fraises, is one of the pastry classics. It consists of shortcrust pastry, vanilla-flavored pastry cream, and of course, juicy fresh strawberries. Yummy! Now, since I always like to play a bit, today I'm making strawberry tarts, but not quite like the traditional French ones. First thing first, I'm not gonna make regular shortcrust pastry. Instead, I'm making almond shortcrust pastry. I love making this pastry, and I have already used it in some of my other tart recipes, like for example soft caramel and chocolate ganache tarts, or Valentine's Day chocolate and coconut heart-shaped tart. The links are in the description below. Anyway, if you have made tarts before, you know for sure that after lining your tart mold and chilling the pastry, you need to put baking weights into your tart for the first 10 to 15 minutes of baking. Then you need to remove them and you can continue baking your tart shell. If you have never heard of this before, don't worry, I got you covered. I have an elaborate post where you can learn step by step how to line a tart mold and bake the tart shell. Naturally, the link is also down below. Now let's get back to my almond pastry. With this pastry you can line a regular removable bottom tart mold, a tart ring, or like I'll do today, stainless steel perforated tart rings. So any tart mold will work fine. Only with perforated tart rings that I'm using today, the technique of lining is completely different than with traditional tart molds. But you will see how it's done later in my video. And now the best thing about this pastry. No matter what type of tart mold you're using, you don't need baking weights. Isn't that awesome? The sides of the tart won't slide down and the bottom won't puff as long as you dock it with a fork and chill it well before baking. I don't know about you, but for me, this is fantastic. So after I make my small tart shells, I will cover their bottom with strawberry jelly, just for fun and for some more strawberry flavor. While the jelly is setting, I will make vanilla-flavored pastry cream that I'll put onto the jelly, and finally I will arrange those juicy, fragrant strawberries on the top. Perfect, light, sweet and tangy dessert for these spring days. So let's make some delicious strawberry tarts. As usual, the recipe is on my site and the link is down below. To make shortcrust pastry, I've placed sifted flour into a large bowl. I'll add sifted almond flour, powdered sugar, and vanilla powder and stir with a whisk. Then I'll add cold butter cut in cubes and rub the dry ingredients into the butter with my fingertips until I get crumbly mixture. Now I'll add egg yolks and make the dough. I will wrap it in plastic foil and put it in the fridge for about 1 hour. I've placed one piece of parchment paper onto my counter and now I will put 1/2 of the dough onto it. First, I will press it with my fingers to flatten it a bit. Then, I'll put another piece of parchment paper onto the dough and press it to stick to it. I will roll out the dough to 3 mm, which is 1/8 of an inch thickness, using my adjustable rolling pin. I'm rolling from the center towards one end, at the same time holding the opposite side of the paper with my hand, so the paper doesn't slide or wrinkle. I will put everything in the freezer for about 20 minutes to chill. I will repeat the procedure with remaining pastry. I'm using stainless steel round 7 cm, which is 2.7 inches in diameter, perforated tart rings. The circumference of my tart rings is about 23 cm, which is 9 inches. My pastry is chilled, and first I will cut 6 approximately 4 cm, which is about 1.5 inches wide strips for the sides of my tarts using my pizza wheel. I will put the pastry in the fridge. Then I'll cut out discs for the bottom of my tarts. My discs are about 5 mm, which is about 1/4 inch smaller than the diameter of the tart rings. I've put my tart ring onto a perforated silicone mat. First, I will line the sides of my tart with pastry strip. I will remove the excess pastry and gently press it into the sides of the mold. Then I'll carefully insert the pastry disc into the mold and smooth the interior with my finger. I will remove the excess pastry from the sides of the tart using a small knife and then put everything in the fridge for about 20 minutes. Before baking, I will dock the bottom of my tarts with a fork. Then I'll bake them at 170 degrees centigrade, which is 340 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 10 minutes. My tarts are done, and now I will brush their interior with egg wash. I'll put them back in the oven for another 2 minutes and then leave them to cool down. To make strawberry jelly, I'll soak gelatin in cold water. As soon as my gelatin softens, I'll take it out and squeeze to get rid of the excess water. I've put strawberry puree into a bowl. I'll add sugar and stir with a whisk. I will heat up this mixture in the microwave. My puree is hot. I'll add soaked gelatin and stir until it melts. I will pour my jelly into the tarts carefully just to cover their bottom, and then I will put them in the fridge until the jelly sets completely. To make crème patissiere, I'll put the milk, half of sugar, and vanilla powder into a saucepan and put it on the stove. I will whisk the egg yolks with the rest of the sugar. I'll add sifted flour and cornstarch and whisk to combine. My milk is hot, and now I will temper the yolk mixture with approximately 1/2 of the heated milk. I'll stir well, and then I'll return the yolk mixture to the saucepan. I will put it back on the stove and cook, stirring vigorously until the cream boils and thickens. I will allow pastry cream to boil for another 2 minutes, stirring constantly so the starch cooks thoroughly. I've removed the pan from the stove, and now I'll immediately add butter and stir with a whisk until combined. I will pour the cream into a clean bowl. Then I'll cover it by placing plastic wrap directly onto the surface of the cream. I will put it in the fridge until it cools down completely. I've placed my cooled pastry cream into a bowl of a stand mixer fitted with whisk attachment, and now I will whisk until it becomes smooth. I've put softened pastry cream into a piping bag fitted with 12 mm, which is about 1/2 inch tip, and now I will fill my tart with it. I'll smooth the top with my small spatula. Then I will clean the edge of the tart with my finger. I will arrange fresh strawberries on top of the cream. I've cut them in half lengthwise, but you can cut them as you like, or if they're small, you can leave them whole. Finally, I will sprinkle some chopped pistachios on top of my strawberries, and I will decorate it with one daisy. There, my delicious strawberry tarts are done. Enjoy!
Oh baby, you are so sweet, so delicious and yummy, so good to eat. I wanna lick you, feel your sweetness on my lips. Forever and ever, you'll stay on my hips.
I'm Teresa. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to stay in touch, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course, visit my site where you can find elaborate posts with lots of pictures, additional information, and recipes that follow my every video. Also, on my site you can download my free 365 pages ebook, The Pastry Chef, and maybe buy me a macaron if you think that I've earned it. Now, before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps a lot. Finally, and this is the most important thing, don't forget to create sweetness every day, because sweetness is happiness. See you in my next video. Bye!